As the Boston Celtics approach the crucial stretch of the regular season with their eyes firmly set on a back-to-back NBA title, there's a mix of excitement and concern surrounding the team. The excitement comes from their strong performances, their cohesion on the court, and their depth that has made them one of the most feared teams in the league. But the concern? It's starting to come from the growing list of injuries that could not have come at a worse time. And the latest name on that list is none other than Jaylen Brown. Brown has already missed 3 straight games, and fans are holding their breath, wondering how serious his situation is and when they might see him back in uniform. That's because he hasn't just been good lately, he's been dominant. March had been his month. He was averaging close to 20 points, pulling down 6 rebounds, dishing out 5 assists, and shooting 40% from the field. Sure, his three-point numbers weren't ideal, but that's never really been where he shines. Jaylen has shifted his game to rely more on power, physicality, and slashing to the rim. Exactly what Boston needs in high-stakes playoff basketball. And then came the injury. It happened a few games ago during a matchup against the Brooklyn Nets. In the third quarter, Brown left the game with knee discomfort and didn't return for the fourth. Not long after, the Celtics released a statement. Jaylen Brown had been diagnosed with a bone bruise and posterior impingement in his right knee. Now, I'm not a doctor, but just hearing the words bone bruise and impingement in the same sentence is enough to make any Celtics fan nervous. The team immediately ruled him out for the next couple of games and set a reevaluation date for the following Monday. That means he's already missed the game against Portland and potentially more depending on how that evaluation goes. And here's the real problem. This isn't just about one player missing a few games. Jaylen Brown is a key cog in Boston's engine. And more importantly, this team's starting 5 hasn't had enough time on the floor together. Out of a possible 82 games, that unit has only shared the court for about 20. That's not ideal, especially with the playoffs right around the corner. Chemistry is built through repetition, and Boston is running out of games to get those reps in. There's also a personal layer to this situation that not everyone is talking about. For Brown to be eligible for All-NBA honors, he needs to play in at least 65 games. Right now, he's at 56. That gives him a narrow window to return and meet the threshold. And while All-NBA selections might not be the team's priority, they matter to players, especially when we're talking about contracts, legacies, and the recognition that comes with being one of the league's elite. Brown, who had an outstanding run in last year's Eastern Conference Finals and was a strong Finals MVP contender, hasn't made an All-NBA team since 2023. This season, with the way he's been playing, he deserves to be in the conversation. So while Boston's top concern should absolutely be getting Jaylen healthy for the playoffs, it's also understandable that he might be pushing to get back on the court not just for the team, but for those personal milestones too. The good news, if we can call it that, is that the injury isn't something more serious like ligament damage or meniscus tear. Bone bruises are painful, yes, but they're also recoverable, and with the right care and rest, Brown should be able to return at full strength. But this has to be handled with caution. Rushing back could lead to a lingering issue, and no one wants that in May or June. Looking at the standings, Boston is still in a strong position. They're comfortably ahead of teams like the New York Knicks, but the Cleveland Cavaliers are still sitting ahead of them in the Eastern Conference. And that matters. The number 1 seed means home court advantage throughout the East playoffs, and that's huge, especially when you consider that Cleveland is one of the best home teams in the league, but struggles heavily on the road. Boston, on the other hand, has proven to be one of the best road teams this season. That combination makes the top spot in the East even more valuable, because if a potential series goes to 7 games, having Game 7 in TD Garden could be the difference between moving on and going home. Now, let's be real, it's not going to be easy catching Cleveland. Boston is trailing by about 5.5 games, and with only a handful of matchups left, the margin for error is razor thin. But here's the thing, Boston is heating up at just the right time. They're on a 5-game winning streak, and they've won 4 of those on the road. Meanwhile, Cleveland is stumbling. They've dropped 4 of their last 5 games, and most of those have been away from home. That road weakness might just be Boston's opening. If the Celtics can stay hot and Cleveland continues to slip, there's a real chance to steal that number 1 seed. But here's the catch. Boston needs to be nearly perfect down the stretch, and, at the same time, hope that Cleveland continues to lose ground. It's a tough ask, no doubt, but it's not impossible. That's why the injury to Jaylen Brown comes at such a frustrating time. Every game matters now, and missing a star player, even for a few games, could be the difference between securing that top spot or settling for second. And that's the fine line Boston is walking right now. Do you push your stars to chase that number one seed? Or do you prioritize health and rest so that the team is at full strength come playoff time? It's a balancing act that head coach Joe Mazzulla will have to manage carefully. Because while the top seed is great, it means nothing if your stars aren't healthy when the real games begin. So what does this all mean for the Celtics moving forward? Well, first, they need to keep winning. Every single game. The margin is too thin for any slip-ups. Second, they need to be smart about Jaylen Brown. If that means sitting him for a few more games to make sure he's truly ready, then that's what has to happen. Because when he's back, Boston needs him at 100%. No hesitations, no limitations. As for fans, the hope is that this is just a small bump in the road and not something that derails what has been a stellar season. Boston is still one of the deepest, most complete teams in the league. They have multiple scoring options, elite defenders, and playoff experience. But they need all their weapons to make the deep run that everyone in Boston is dreaming about. So for now, all eyes are on that Monday reevaluation. Celtics Nation waits, fingers crossed, hoping that Jaylen Brown gets the green light to return and help this squad make their final push. Because if he's back and the rest of the lineup stays healthy, this Boston team is absolutely built to make another run at the title. As the final 10 games of the regular season loom, the Boston Celtics find themselves in a race against time, circumstance, and competition. It's not just about the standings anymore. It's about rhythm, health, and making the final adjustments that could define the difference between an early playoff exit and another championship parade through the streets of Boston. And while fans are right to focus on whether the team can catch up to the Cleveland Cavaliers for the top spot in the East, there's a deeper story unfolding here. One that's just as much about strategy as it is about effort. Boston has been here before. This is a battle-tested group, filled with players who know what it takes to reach the NBA Finals and go toe-to-toe with the best. That experience matters. But experience alone doesn't win titles. Timing, health, and momentum do. And that's why this final stretch is so important. Every game played now isn't just about wins and losses. It's about setting a tone, establishing continuity, and sharpening the edges before the grind of postseason basketball begins. The absence of Jaylen Brown casts a shadow over that preparation. His presence in the lineup changes everything. He's not just a scorer. He's a tone setter. His ability to attack the rim, defend multiple positions, and play with a level of physicality that most wing players can't match is part of what gives the Celtics their edge. Without him, Boston becomes more predictable. Opposing defenses can collapse more easily on Jason Tatum. They can close out harder on shooters. And they can attack matchups that normally wouldn't exist when Brown is on the floor. So while the Celtics have managed to string together wins without him, make no mistake, they're not the same team without number 7. And that's what makes the decision around his return so delicate. Bring him back too early, and you risk aggravating the injury. Wait too long, and you lose precious opportunities to get the starting 5 reacclimated before the playoffs. Then there's the matter of seeding. Catching Cleveland would be a huge win. Securing home court throughout the Eastern Conference playoffs could be the edge Boston needs to get past a team like Milwaukee or Philadelphia in a potential 7-game series. TD Garden is a fortress when the stakes are high, and the Celtics feed off that crowd in a way few teams do. But the path to overtaking the Cavaliers is narrow, and it requires perfection, not just from Boston, but also a continued slide from Cleveland. And here's where things get tricky. Cleveland, despite their recent struggles, is still a team with talent and depth. They've shown they can rattle off wins in bunches, especially when they get rolling at home. So even though they've dropped 4 of their last 5 games, betting on them to continue losing is risky. It puts Boston in a position where their fate isn't entirely in their own hands. That's why every possession, every quarter, and every decision in these final 10 games carries extra weight. Jason Tatum will need to shoulder a heavier load while Brown is out. That's nothing new for him. He's been the centerpiece of this team for years now. But the physical toll of doing that over the next 10 games could be significant. Tatum has already played heavy minutes throughout the season. Asking him to ramp up even more now is a gamble, especially if it costs him freshness in the playoffs. That's where Boston's depth will be tested. Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Kristaps Porzingis will all need to step up in different ways. White's been a revelation this season with his consistency and defense. Holiday brings the experience of a champion and the ability to control tempo. Porzingis has been one of the league's most efficient big men when healthy, capable of stretching the floor and protecting the rim. Together, they form a strong supporting cast, but now's the time to prove that strength when it matters most. Then there's the bench, which has been solid all season, but needs to be even sharper now. Guys like Sam Hauser, Al Horford, and Peyton Pritchard are going to get real minutes, and those minutes can swing games. In the playoffs, rotations tighten, and coaches lean heavily on players they trust. These last few games will be a proving ground for who earns those playoff minutes and who might find themselves on the fringe. Another layer to consider is the psychological side of things. Momentum in sports is a strange, powerful force. Teams that enter the playoffs on a hot streak often perform better than those who coast in. That's why these final games are more than just box scores. They're about building belief. If Boston finishes strong, even without Brown for part of it, they'll enter the playoffs with confidence. They'll believe they can beat anyone, anywhere. And that belief can be the difference between a win and a loss when the margins get razor thin. Coach Joe Mazzulla has his work cut out for him. Managing minutes, preserving health, keeping the team focused, and chasing the top seed, all of it falls on his shoulders. He's shown poise and adaptability throughout the season, but this is a different kind of pressure. Every decision now has consequences, and how he navigates this final stretch will be a defining moment of his young coaching career. The good news is that Boston has options. They're not relying on one or two players to carry them. This is a team built for the long haul. They have length, versatility, and a defensive identity that travels. They can win games in the half court, in transition, through grit, or through finesse. That's what makes them dangerous, and that's what will keep them in the conversation as true contenders, regardless of whether they finish first or second in the East. Still, the number one seed is right there. It's not guaranteed, but it's possible. And for a team that's come so close in recent years, falling short in the finals, missing opportunities due to health or timing, this feels like the year where everything could align. But it won't happen by accident. It's going to take discipline, resilience, and a bit of luck. Celtics fans know the stakes. They've seen this story unfold before, and now they're watching closely, hoping for a healthy Jaylen Brown, a dominant Tatum, and a team that finishes the season the way it's capable of, strong, united, and ready for war. Because once the playoffs start, everything changes. The pace slows down, scouting becomes more intense, and every possession feels like life or death. Boston needs to be prepared for that moment. So the mission is clear. Finish the regular season with urgency. Get Jaylen Brown back without rushing. Stay sharp. Stay healthy. And most importantly, believe, because the talent is there. The experience is there. And if this group stays locked in, there's no reason why they can't go all the way. The window is open. Now it's time to step through it. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Imagine the Boston Celtics loading up for an unprecedented championship push. Could the Celtics, with their deep roster and playoff pedigree, be about to add a true superstar to the mix? The potential arrival of Kevin Durant, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Walker Kessler has Celtics fans buzzing with anticipation. Each of these players could bring something special to the team, transforming an already dangerous squad into a formidable title contender. Kevin Durant, one of the best players in NBA history, has a proven track record with 2 NBA championships and a string of MVP-worthy performances. His scoring ability and elite basketball IQ would complement the Celtics' existing stars, providing them with a clutch performer who has a reputation for delivering in the most intense moments. Could Boston be the next team to benefit from Durant's exceptional scoring prowess and leadership, especially in their pursuit of the coveted championship? Karl-Anthony Towns, fresh off a dynamic season with the New York Knicks, presents another intriguing possibility. The five-time All-Star is known for his versatility as both a scoring big man and a reliable defensive presence. His ability to stretch the floor and contribute in various ways would give Boston the interior presence they've been missing in recent years. Add Towns' experience in high-stakes games, and the Celtics' frontcourt could become one of the league's most imposing. Then there's Walker Kessler, the promising young center whose shot-blocking ability and rebounding instincts have already made waves in the NBA. While not as seasoned as Durant or Towns, Kessler's potential is through the roof. Imagine a front-court rotation featuring Kessler's defensive dominance alongside the offensive firepower of Durant and Towns. With the Celtics' rich history and championship aspirations, these three players could make Boston's title hopes seem almost inevitable. But could they pull it off? Stay tuned. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.